Miad, I've given you control of the screen. Looking forward to hearing your voice and catching up with you, my friend.
Hello.
I see your waiting to hear your voice.
Can you hear me now?
Live from Scotland, Miad Kasvari.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Are you the only Iranian in Scotland?
I cannot doubt it.
It's so great to have you back with us.
I'm so excited to be back.
Yeah, your mic is working, and you have a project you want to talk about. So, you know, I don't even really need to ask you about your journey because, you know, we're still all on a journey. And
that's right.
I'm interested in hearing about your new project. What's the title of your new project again?
Yeah, thanks for asking me this. The title of my project is Journey to a Million.
Okay.
When I embarked on a mission to become self-sufficient in trading, I found that I can't progress as I wanted. The idea of what I wanted and the reality was just different. So I pulled off great trades and would continue to seek hard for the next one to get that yay feeling, but it just the joy wouldn't last. I'm totally neglecting the fact that the next trade finds me and not the other way around. So I've cracked down on my behaviors so as much as I've spent very little on analysis and trading itself, but rather dedicating my time and effort to focus on what triggers bad habits, how to stop them, and if there is a way to do it, help others to do the same. Dale, for years I've tried so much and felt so close but yet so far. And the key inflection points in my trading career wasn't getting mentored by multi-million private French investor. What brought it home for me was to trade or to make money was to realize that a lot of my trading peers joined this folly for too. Is we seek to be fulfilled, we seek to be happy, and we wake up every morning with an unshakable positive attitude towards trading, career, family, and friends. And everything I do, we do with love, and that's the same thing you get back. And as it is, my momentum brought me to a stage where I've wanted to explore my limits. And as I've started to write a plan for it, as a matter of fact, I'm co-authoring it with a dear friend from Canada. His name is Shia, a remarkable editor. It's called The Journey to a Million. We go into the nitty-gritty of all the right skills we as humans take on to take us there. It's a logical and sensible approach to success, a plan to action that will rapidly accelerate your progress. That's the whole idea of it. So I go mostly into the behaviors.
Eliminating bad psychology, bad trading habits is more important than being in good trades, because avoiding bad trades never shows up in our accounts. But if we can do that, the difference in performance is going to be remarkable. So avoiding bad trades, I'm sure you're covering, you know, things like FOMO. Why don't you give us a few examples, and then I'm going to ask you to mentor me with one of my weaknesses. So why don't you give us at first what you discovered about yourself, bad trading habits that you had that impeded you?
Absolutely. So I think the biggest impact or the bad habit that I found out through the process I've discovered was trading impulse. So I would open trades based on very little reasoning, and mostly on the back of that I believe that I need to be active when there's no necessity for me to be constantly active when there's nothing happening. So I would get out of my trading plan, place trades in directions that aren't necessarily there, and then inevitably would lose money. Or if I made money, it wouldn't have meant anything because I wasn't part of a process that was looking to follow.
So my way of helping people and coaching people with that is that if you haven't planned the trade the day before or several days before, that you don't trade just coming into a session and going from pair to pair and saying, I'll give that a shot, because that was not planned out. It wasn't something that you had predetermined, put a lot of thought into, looked for confluences. So I think everyone has fallen victim to, oh, you know what? That looks okay. I'll give it a shot. So
Absolutely.
what's the best way for people to overcome that? Maybe just telling them, don't make your broker rich would be enough incentive for them to trade less. What do you tell people?
To a lot of people, Dale, it comes natural. You tell them once, they understand it, they won't do the same thing again. But I think for a lot of people, like myself, it's a habit that kicks in. It's not just a mistake. It's happening over and over again. And that's because of a clue that snaps inside you. You could have seen maybe a trading friend make more money than you today. It could have been something like you felt bored, and something snaps inside you that throws you into this habit loop, and you cannot get out of it for the life of you unless you are aware what's happening. That's why even if I tell myself or I tell trading peers, look, only trade your plan, it's nothing but words, because once that habit loop snaps in, they are powerless against it and are pretty much falling into it. So it's usually a cue where the cure to this habit is to identify your cue. What gets you into the mindset where you feel like you need to place the trade? Is it fear of losing out? Is it impulse trading? Is it that you feel you need to be important? Is it that you are feeling that you're not making enough money in trading? So all of these things, it could be one, it could be many. Once you identify what your cue is, you got to start to become alert, because you know your cue is kicking in. That means your habit loop is getting connected, and you're minutes away from blowing a hole into your account.
Okay, so basically what you're talking about when you talk about ingrained patterns like this, it's your paradigm. And I look at a lot of people who try and teach people how to change their paradigm, guys like Robert Proctor, and most of them say the way to change your paradigm is a lot of repetition, not necessarily, it's more about your subconscious, unconscious mind rather than your conscious mind, but listening to something over and over again, repeating over and over again, and having an emotional attachment to an image, is that we don't have to figure it out. Basically, we all have paradigms that were formed by the time we were 5, 6 years old. Before we had an ego and challenged anything, we were an open book, and everything we heard, everything we saw, became who we became.
100%.
And so you're talking about somebody changing a paradigm. That's something that doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of time and repetition. Is that how would you tell people to go about it? I think hypnosis could work, NLP can work, but you're talking about a complete paradigm shift, and you're right. Actions speak louder than words. You could say the words, but not act on them. I did an interview with someone's website was called Desire to Trade, and I said to him, you could have the desire to do a lot of things like travel, but you still have to get on the airplane. So what's your solution for helping people change these paradigms that are self-destructive to their equity?
A great question. Again, there's a couple of steps that I've created a template where you first identify your bad habit by identifying your clue. And I believe a lot of trading peers that come into this business are in it to win it. They really want to give it everything to succeed. But a lot of times you fail to see the small things that actually take you all the way. Most of the people I talk to, they speak to me, they're like profitable for weeks and month end, but then they make a mistake, and then that just kicks in another bad habit loop. And the way to really crack down on is to really strongly focus on the cue that gets you into the bad trade to start with, or gets you into a trade that you did not want to take, where you reflect back upon it and you thought, that's not what I wanted to do. because it comes to a point where you feel like you're powerless over yourself, and it gets very frustrating for a lot of traders that they seem not to be able to stop them. Again, I think I gave you an anecdote in moments ago that it feels you're so close but yet so far. You do everything right, but then you do all these little stupid mistakes that just take everything away. And that's the nature of a business in trading. We are on our own. There's nobody patting us on the back or thanking for us for what you do every day. Wake up 5 in the morning, analyze the markets. Some of us don't even go to bed till midnight. So there's a lot of things involved and a lot of pressure, and you sometimes don't get as much money back as you would like to. A lot of these things are onto that. So the way we approach it, and the way I wrote in the I'm writing in the articles for the Journey to a Million, is based upon you build your confidence, you build your self-control, you build your process that you know is going to take you where you want to go, and it's inevitable. The process will be inevitable for you to succeed. There's no way you're not going to get where you want to get as long as you stick to the process. Now, how can
all
you
right,
stick
now,
to the process?
do you advise people to journal? Because when you write something down, it has more of an impression on you psychologically, mentally, than if you just speak it.
That's right.
So is journaling an ingredient in the journey? Do you journal on the journey?
The journal on the journey sounds great. I've got a template where I've written it out on what I've done to conquer my bad habits, or how to stay on top of them, and how to turn them around. And it rippled through my trading career like crazy. And the same template I give along to everybody as I speak to as well. And that's where you then replace your feelings and your thoughts and your issues with mine. And that's part of your journal. The journaling that I keep on track on is mostly regarding trading these days. I don't do as much of the mental side as I fell into the routine where I understand what's stopping me or what's pushing me forward. I know if I feel like this today, that I need to do something about it. So it's a lot of self-confidence. Be conscious about the moment as well, and I go into great details in the articles I've wrote about how to understand how you feel, how to understand that you need to be on top of things even before they come to you. It's like insurance for a house. You don't get insurance after it's burnt down. You have insurance before it happens, so you're covered. And I do the same thing emotionally and mentally in my trading every day, in and out. There's a process where I know that my happy hormones I've got a good supply of them. So if the trading day doesn't go my way, it mitigates all the effect. And in other words, I won't drop in performance at all. That's really important down the line, because a lot of time traders look at the trade performance to determine if they're going to be happy or not, and that's just not sustainable at all.
Well, a lot of these things that you talk about are not only relevant in trading, but you're also going to have a miserable life if you're always comparing yourself to others.
Definitely, that's correct.
So, and I think that's a big thing. I mean, I've seen Twitter and social networks be very competitive. Well, one of my favorite things is someone will say, the euro did what I said it did. I hope you caught it. When what they really mean is, I know you missed it, but look at how great I am. So how do you get people to understand that some of these things they're carrying forward in their personality, if they can overcome it in trading, they can actually lead a happier life? I mean, if I compare, because there's always someone that has more. I think it's about where you come from, that it's all relative. But if I compare myself to a lot of people in the industry, I could very easily say to myself, if I was predisposed to it, oh, what a failure I am. So how do you get people to stop comparing themselves to others? What do you tell them?
It's just because it's a reality doesn't mean you got to believe it. You're the gatekeeper of your emotions, and it's down to you. Would you allow it to affect your emotions?
Yeah, that's a pearl. You're the gatekeeper of your thoughts. So you can take that thought captive, and just like a computer, you could delete it. So what you're trying to do is not to change the hardware of a trader, but to get them to use different software. Is that a good metaphor?
I really like that. Yeah, I think I'm going to take a note of that. Can I quote you on that later on?
You could. I have no copyright on it. You can use it. So, okay. So I'm going to tell you what my weakness is. My weakness is riding trades to objectives and targets, and not having the patience to do so. In fact, you know, I'm a little better at it now because I compromise with partials, but I used to be an all-in, all-out type of trader. My entries were always the strongest part of my trading, but being able to ride it and look at all the jiggles and being willing to give up equity on the long and winding road to a target was difficult for me. In fact, several years ago, someone commented to me and said, Dale, why do you even write down your targets to us and your objectives? You never sit for them, and 90% of them happen. So that was kind of a light bulb. Why aren't I? So what do you tell people that have a hard time? You have to be patient waiting for the trade, but it's a different type of patience managing a trade. What do you tell people?
I usually give the anecdote of a train traveling. When you're on the train, you know you're like 20 stops away from your destination. And why would you get up at stop 15 or stop 12? Why would you do that if your destination is stop 20? The only reason why you would get off the train is if you believe the train will not take you there. That means your incentives are paralyzed or compromised. That keeps you in the trade. And then that would be your reason to exit a strategy or exit a trade. In any other case, you trust in the consensus that you created, and you trust in the trade that you entered into, and you have clear incentives, and you're aware of your drivers. I believe your styles of trading are slightly different, where I stick more to the sentiment side of things, and you are more looking to bump traders out the trades. I'm kidding. You're looking for stops. And what I do is in my trading is I look for incentives. I think if there's a fluctuation in price, if there's the bond market is up ripping, and I understand that who's behind the moves, and that keeps me most of the times in my trades. As a technical trader, what the greater thing is that you stick to your incentives. You know what bounced the price. You knew who's vulnerable in market at the moment, and you know they're going to stay vulnerable because they haven't liquidated yet. As a matter of fact, if they were to start liquidating, you're going to get closer to your take profit.
Okay, so part of your process is knowing how the market structure of positioning is working for what you're looking for in the market.
Absolutely. I want to be 100% aware of who's behind the move. I want to be aware that there's a loads of money behind the move. I want to know there's some fire on it before I put my capital towards it. Okay.
So having gone through a lot of this, and since we are near the end of the year, I don't know if you prepped for it, but I would be interested if you had some views on any instruments that you have on your radar, and maybe you could take us through your thought process on the whys of the trade and the hows of the trade and your psychology for looking for it.
Absolutely.
Would you like to do that?
Yes, please. Okay. The first one I'd like to talk about is the Euro CHF. In July, I believe, this year, Draghi made comments that it created a big leap in the chart on Euro CHF. We had, and since then, SMB has been supporting it, and the consensus is that the market is looking to get back into the floor of 120 around here. Let me just have a look.
It's amazing it's recovered as much as it has.
It did indeed, yeah. But there was no, how to put it, there was no urgency to price in a 120 move until what Draghi said here. And ever since we've been buying, and I've seen a lot of colleagues drawing wedges and saying that this trend line here will break and it will plop all the way down. but I'm afraid that's not feasible. As we know, the S&P is behind most of the moves, and they're really targeting this area before they want to release any of their holdings. So that is a surefire trade for me. I believe I've entered this trade more than 12 times and liquidated it and entered again. It's not me I want to brag about it, but I think I made over 1,000 pips on just a 300-400 pip move because it's constantly bouncing down, and I'm very confident it will bounce back up because I know the drivers behind it. Going by that, we know that euro is going stronger going through next year, especially after the Italian elections are over. That's sort of a headwind right now in a lot of traders and investors' minds.
When are they? When are they?
They are in March, I believe the 8th of March. I need to double check that. I believe they're around the 8th of March. So you might see what we've seen with the French election this time. 2 weeks prior to the election, euro started rallying.
Right.
And as investors, that's how they work. Once they're confident that something's going to play out their way, they're going to go for it. And when they're wrong, right, then it goes the other way. Sticking to that analysis, I'm very confident we're going to hit 120 effortlessly. However, how quickly we're going to do it, I think we're going to stall a little bit around these levels, and then the real move should start next year. In any case, that's the target, and any dip into any of these zones, especially into 115, is a definite heavy buy for me. That's the concentration of most of my portfolio probably. The next one I wanted to talk about was, I actually took notes here, was gold.
So that's kind of a theme that came to light after that big green candle of Mario Draghi really not being able to talk down the euro. He was trying to talk it down, and the market smacked him right in the face. And that gap that we have down there, that was in April, that was the same gap that the euro left during the French election, right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Okay, so just one question before you move on. Even though you have a theme, price action's king, what would make you change your mind that we're not going to 120?
If we start breaking below, if we start breaking below that weekly insight bar that I just drew.
Okay. All right. Because that's the key. You know, we can't control profits, but we can control risk.
Of course.
All right. Okay. So what's on deck? What's next?
Next one I had in mind was gold. Let me see if I got a gold chart anywhere here. I think I did. Open one. Next one I had in mind to talk about is gold, and the reason why I'm continue to stay bearish on this. About 1 or 2 months ago, we had the news that Indian demand and physical demand of gold has waned. So usually we have this seasonality where Indian physical gold demand kicks in and supports gold in these areas. But we came to a point, and I think I've talked about this a week or so ago, and I've shared it between the members that work with me together, that there's next to zero demand in physical gold right now from India and all the other countries as well. And gold is purely swinging on risk aversion. As you know, a lot of traders know as well, when there's risk in the market, investors get cautious and they put their money into non-yielding assets like gold. So gold will shoot up. On the other hand, if the market is good and if there's euphoria, you see gold to drop. For the very reason I believe that gold has got more room to drop within this year to about 1240 at least into this area.
Do you know what was behind the lack of Indian demand? Could it have been Modi's move to eliminate certain cash denominations, and they don't have the liquidity to buy it?
I believe.
Or could it be? Or could it be that Indians are moving into cryptocurrency because of the move of going cashless in India?
Certainly, going cashless in India is going to create a lot of rotations in where people invest their money. However, particularly about what triggered the non-physical demand, I'm afraid that's a great question, but I'll think about it and get back to you later about that.
Okay.
All right. So that's what I'm keen on gold. Next one I wanted to talk about is USD Rand. So USD-ZAR, which is, I believe, in the exotics.
Okay, I have one question from Alan Johnson before you go.
Yeah.
How does a trader overcome the fear of getting into a move once it's underway? When I try to get into moves early, I'm often stopped out, and then the trade goes in my direction. Yes, I'm not, and then he's hesitant to re-enter. Yeah, you know, that's a normal thing. I've only seen really professionals be able to be taken out of a trade with a loss and recommit to the same trade if they believe in it. People normally say, oh, well, I'm not going to trade the euro again. I'll look at something else. But the trade is still there, and perhaps they didn't give their trades enough breathing room. What do you tell people with that?
I do agree. So when you get late into a trade, you need to understand that your stop loss probably needs to be greater and able to keep you in the trade. If the incentives are still there, you stick to your guns, you actually commit to your stop loss more than you commit to staying in the trade because you believed in it. If you don't believe in it, then you probably want to pull out because the psychological pressure is not always worth it. And you can call it a day and go for a next trade. That's what I do a lot of times. Was it last week Andrea Merkel broke down on her, real example, last week Andrea Merkel broke down on her negotiations and Euro-USD plummeted. And I knew there's probably got more room to drop further. However, I got late into a trade, and I had to suffer a greater stop loss as a result, and had to scale down, scale out of the trade. It is what it is. If you're late to a trade, you are probably going to be in a weaker position to manage it as well, and you need to be aware of it when you're in the trade. So either cut down on your liquidity, or make yourself aware that this is going to be a tougher trade to trade. That's, as long as you're aware of it, you're going to be fine. I think a lot of things that we do is because we're not aware what's happening internally with us. We just soldier it on. We just think, okay, we brush it off. I can do this. But in reality, our mind is telling us, look, you've got to be aware now. You're late to this trade, and it's very unlikely you're going to be able to stay in the trade if there's any great fluctuations because it's going to interfere with your analysis. I hope that makes sense.
Good answer. Okay, so what are we looking at here?
USD Rand. Yes, okay. I believe a lot of traders never opened that pair. A lot of traders might not like it. However, there's something remarkable happening right now in South Africa. Just to give you a background, last weekend, I believe it was Moody. Yeah, Moody downgraded South African bond market to junk bond, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, S&P 500. Now, it might be the other way around. I forgot. S&P 500.
Or Moody's.
Well, I think it was Moody's, and then it was S&P who are grading the quality of South African bonds. If these two agencies both downgrade the bond to junk bond, they need international investors need to pull out of it because it's not an investment grade bond anymore. In other words, if they pull out of it like $7 to $14 billion, then you will likely to see price accelerate towards much higher levels. I've got anticipations that price could go as high as around 16 level. So that's a massive surge. But the thing that happened is Moody downgraded them. However, S&P said we're going to wait till February and we're going to review how the economy is evolving and also how the presidential election is going to play out. So you can see you've got a time, you've got a date, and you've got a point where everything could crash if they're going to say the bond market is fine, because then more investors would like to buy South African bonds. South African is probably got one of the most sophisticated bond markets in the world. But if they downgrade it, then automatically $7 to $14 billion of bonds have to get liquidated as they are not investment grade bonds anymore. So in February, I'll be looking to see what's happening to this pair in case it does get downgraded, and then we see massive liquidation, which could deal into massive in a very, very easy move.
Okay, some very interesting looks and a lot of fundamental rationale between. It seems like that is the foundation of your work. Is the is a fundamental backdrop of these markets, and then technicals come in second. Am I reading you correctly?
That's correct. I do love technicals. I probably wouldn't be able to trade any chart or any asset without the technicals. However, I like to know who's going to help me to get to my take profit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you want to know where's the money flow behind the trade. Why don't we go to your website so that people would know where to find you and how to get set up and be aware of the new book that's coming out. I know you're mentoring people. This is just a little bit of a taste of what you teach, and there's your website. What's the website address?
It's speculatorstrading.com.
Okay, and I know that your Twitter handle is at Z like zebra FX trading.
That is correct.
Okay.
You can find me under my own name as well, Miad Kasvari. What I do on my webpage, I offer a few courses, which are self-teaching courses. So you read yourself through it and understand what the main behavior is in the markets and how you can benefit in it. And I also offer a 3-month course. It's a program. From the day you start for the following 3 months, I will invite you to a private Twitter feed and where I explain every day what I look in the market and how I put to practice all the things that I'm trying to teach, so you can see it on a daily basis. I also offer one-on-one psychology sessions once a month to help traders if they've got any questions or if there's anything that's in their mind.
Very reasonable cost, and it was a great pleasure and enlightening to talk to you. I wish you so much success in your mission to help people. We help ourselves by teaching because it crystallizes what we teach for ourselves, and wish that your journey to $1 million, Miad, takes place at God's speed, and that you have a great wrap up to the year and a fantastic, prosperous 2018 for you and anyone that your words reach, my trading warrior brother.
So kind of you, Dave. Thanks again for having me at the ForexAnalytix. Thanks to everybody who tuned in today. I love the opportunity. Very excited to speak to you, and it was great to listen to Steve and Blake as well. Always great insights. Yeah. Really appreciate what you guys do. Thanks for having me.
You're always welcome to come and hang out with us, my trading warrior brother. And really, thank you so much, Miad. You know that I'm in your corner. I root for you for the duration.
Love you, Dale. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Back to you.
All right, buddy. So that's it, F.A.C.E. Hope you had a great week. Let's kill it this December. And, if you're having trouble sleeping like Blake is, and, everyone has different reasons for, not being able to sleep well. Perhaps you're over leveraged, use less leverage. Or if it's other things, I'm going to leave you with a little Perry Como, all right? If you're worried and you can't sleep, just count your blessings instead of sheep, and you'll fall asleep counting your blessings. Rest well, my friends. See you Monday. I'm very optimistic about December. Enjoy. Adios. You're very welcome. The best, most powerful FX team on the net. We'll be working our butts off all weekend for great actionable ideas for you. See you, my friends.